Did you know that in the Pagan Min DLC for Far Cry 6, if you look at the moon, you can see this? So this is the face of Ishwari Gale, the mother of Far Cry 4 protagonist AJ Gale. Pagan was in love with Ishwari, hence him seeing her face in his thoughts. Hello and welcome to Hidden Video Game Details, the series that aims to show you things that you may not have known about your favourite games so that you can look really clever in front of your dad when he finally comes home with the milk. As always, don't forget to like this video if you enjoy my videos, subscribe and do all that YouTube algorithm stuff. And without further delay, let's get started. Right, let's begin with a detail from what is perhaps the most disappointing game of recent years. Someone commented on one of my previous videos that I always use the same 2042 gameplay when I'm talking about the game. Well, the reason for that is I don't even own it, and my EA Play trial has now expired. And let me be clear, I'm definitely not buying it just to record some B-roll. If you would have told me that when Battlefield 1 was at its peak that there would be another modern day Battlefield but I wouldn't own it because it just wasn't fun, I would have called you a liar, but here we are. Anyway, 2042 may not be a good game, but in my pursuit of video game details, I have found something pretty funny. On the Kaleidoscope map, you can find this. So this sign telling you to play the objective is kind of similar to this sign from CSGO that we found in episode 47 of this series where we were told to focus on the enemy. Up next is a personal favourite of mine. Well, when it comes to details anyway. Deep Rock Galactic is full of hidden details that are sure to put a smile on your face, like the various lines of dialogue that can be heard after kicking barrels into the launch bay.
Fair warning, any vandalizing or destruction of company property will be deducted from your pay at the end of the month.
Something that I didn't know is that if you kick the barrels into the launch bay and then begin a mission, those same barrels will appear in the loading screen floating in space. It's honestly one of my favourite details of the past few months. The other detail from Deep Rock Galactic is something that I don't think I've seen any other game do. After a long day mining, you can hit the bar and order a beer or 10. Of course, the more you drink, the more drunk you become. A lot of games do this, it's nothing new, but what is new is being drunk in the menus. If you head to the equipment terminal, your character will appear blurry, having the same drunk effect that you experience when playing. The reason for this is that when you're in the menus, your dwarf is actually looking at the screens, so you're seeing things from a first person point of view. Oh, and one more thing that a few of you have mentioned is that when you have a beer in hand, if you run, your dwarf will use their other hand to steady their tasty beverage. It's neat little things like this that make a big difference in games. Next up is a detail that can be found in a game's main menu. Many people would have sat at the Halo 5 menu to enjoy the game's music. It is pretty great. Well, if you waited long enough and paid close attention, you may have seen this. Did you see it? So after a long wait, a grunt can be seen falling through space. Who knows where the poor little guy ended up. So I've spoken before about old games that have been played by millions of people that still have things we haven't discovered. It's a fear of mine that keeps me awake at night. When I find one of these details or Easter egg from an older game, I get mixed feelings. On one hand, it's cool to find something in a game that I haven't played for years. On the other, it leaves me wondering what else I don't know. Anyway, this detail from Call of Duty 4 is something very subtle, but does accurately represent what it's like to come up against snipers in multiplayer. During the one-shot, one-kill mission, you play as Price as he teams up with Macmillan to assassinate Imran Zakhaev. To do this, the pair set up shop in an abandoned building, waiting for the right moment to snipe the arms dealer. After taking the shot, you need to get out of the building and fast. But if you take a second, you can notice a claymore mine has been set up by the door to avoid any nasty surprises. Honestly, I must have played through this mission at least 10 times, and not once did I notice the claymore by the door. It's a really nice touch. Right, it's now time to revisit the Family Guy game on PS2. In the last episode of this series, we discovered that Quahog had a problem with mimes erecting invisible walls in the town. It was a clever way to explain an all too common video game trope. Well, next to the mime and his invisible walls is God himself. The big guy can be found talking to a woman, and if you interrupt his efforts to find a Mrs. God, if that's a thing, he will do this.
My will be done!
So God will smite you down for having the audacity to throw hands. As much as I find this game frustrating, details like this do help ease the pain. Okay, to end today's video, let's take another look at the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. In episode 82 of this series, we discovered that the game appreciated us taking the time to set the time before we started the game. It was a great fourth wall breaking moment from a game stuffed to the brim with them. After posting that video, loads of you commented asking what happens when you launch the game again. After all, you were asked to enter your favourite time. Well, here is the answer to that question. And just a heads up, this one does go on for a little while, but stick with it because trust me, it is worth it. So despite ending on an ominous talk soon, this is as far as I've been able to go. I've loaded the game multiple times in an attempt to see what happens next, but with no luck. Like I said, it's a really long and drawn out quote-unquote detail, but it is pretty damn great. So that's it. If you enjoyed this video, then leaving a like is really appreciated. If you are a fan of Easter eggs, secrets, and hidden details in games, then perhaps consider subscribing, as that's what this channel is all about. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll speak to you all soon.